JD Vance has had a difficult time answering the simple question of, did Donald Trump win or lose the 2020 election? Like, do you accept what actually happened, what objectively happened, what happened in the world of facts? And he's had a hard time answering it because he just won't answer it until he finally did answer it. And somehow that was even worse than the evasion. Take a look.
Who won the 2020 election?
We're gonna go to town hall.
Could you just answer? Did Donald Trump win? Yes or no?
Yes.
He did win.
Yep.
So will you concede? Will you concede?
This is being really disrespectful.
If your opponent gets more votes, will you concede?
I really feel bad for you, man.
I just want to know if your opponent gets more votes, will you concede?
Yeah, I think Jason Selvig of The Good Liars wants to know. I want to know. I think a lot of people want to know if like we're gonna have not, I guess in this case, a peaceful continuation of power if Harris wins. And so, look, that last bit was interesting. The first part, maybe more so. Did Donald Trump win? Yes. Yup, he did. Lied JD Vance. JD Vance obviously doesn't believe that. And I don't just mean that because it's untrue. I mean that because JD Vance is already on the text record in the wake of the challenges of the 2020 election saying that the evidence just wasn't there, that there was fraud. He's already come out on the right side of this, but now his wagon is firmly hitched to Donald Trump's caboose. And so he's got to tell some lies, some pathetic lies and some concerning lies, because if he's doing all of this willingness to turn away from the truth, facts, the way our democratic system is supposed to work to keep Donald Trump happy, like, are we supposed to believe that he wouldn't do that to put Trump into the White House if participating in a second coup or the second, attempt to steal the election wasn't what would be necessary? Right? What do you make of this?
The sad part is the onus is on us to do the one thing that makes JD Vance do anything, and that is offer power or a step up on the ladder. That's it. That's the only thing I can figure out about this guy. This guy will climb for anything. That's why he has such a kinship with Donald Trump. Now, ideally, in JD Vance's mind, he would murder Donald Trump and become president himself and then emperor of the world. That is the only logical next step, if left to him, if he were just executing what in his mind was the perfect thing. He would get Donald Trump dead in and he himself would become president of the United States. That follows with every bit of his career path as a human being. However, like, he's giving us every indication that everything that everybody has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the Constitution and democracy, he's implying that that is all true. He's doing nothing to dispel it. It is very simple. All he needs to do in order to get normies to like him is to utterly change his personality. But in terms of this conversation, just acknowledge reality. But that is the one thing that his base is allergic to.
Yeah. Look, he's in a somewhat difficult position because, again, he's running with an insane person, and the insane person expects you to be insane in the way that he is and never contradict his own insanity, even if Trump himself does occasionally. Like, Trump has recently said that he lost a couple of times, but I guess that didn't stick. I don't know. I don't know which Trump is, at the wheel at this point, because JD Vance, like, I was thinking during the debate, why doesn't JD Vance just say in response to the question, well, as Trump has said repeatedly, kind of, he lost by a whisker, literally by a whisker, except I guess not by a whisker anymore. I guess that was just like a trial balloon whisker. But anyway, look, if I were him, I would be a little bit worried about the future, because if Trump loses, and there's a good chance that might happen, like, he wants to be the person to sort of inherit MAGA. And I guess that means sticking with the big lie. But theoretically, MAGA might kind of fall apart without Donald Trump, in which case it wouldn't be a bad thing to be able to sort of like, take over what's left of the Republican Party more generally, in which case maybe you don't want to have this anchor weighing you down if you were to run again. Because now, for the rest of his career, he's going to be the guy who repeatedly denies the results of elections when he doesn't like the result. That's who he is. He used to be better than that. He used to be smarter than that, more honest than that, but not anymore, because that's how his bread is buttered. And by the way, in terms of the effect on the electorate, we know that they have been trying to, in the run up to the 2020 election, ever since then, today, tomorrow, trying to convince people that if you have something inside of you, like a seed that is not gonna like it if someone other than your preferred candidate wins, and it would be easier for you emotionally or psychologically to just deny the result. Well, we're going to make fertile ground for you, I guess, mentally, by just constantly asserting, generally without any evidence, that elections are super easy to rig. It happens all the time. People cheat, they steal votes, non-citizens, all that nonsense. And now a lot of people genuinely believe that voter fraud is a big thing. If you look at these numbers, so obviously in this chart, Republicans, 86% say they're concerned about voter fraud. Again, something that almost never happens and literally never changes the result of an election. They're universally worried about it. More than half of independents, even 1 out of 3 Democrats have been convinced of this almost complete non-issue. And that isn't just concerning in the abstract ideologically, it's concerning because if you think, voter fraud, super serious thing, then when someone you otherwise trust tells you the election was stolen, you might be predisposed to believe that. So JD Vance is contributing not only to the myth making and revisionist history of the 2020 election, but setting the stage to steal the next one as well.
Right. Like Mike Pence is not on the ticket because he had the audacity. Like Mike Pence, who is a turd booger, he loved America more than he loved Donald Trump. He realized that like there got to be rules out there and the rules ain't so bad, specifically in this scenario. He realized the reality that like not certifying elections, that's as a vice president of the United States, that's not a thing. They're like, that's not the job. You can't just not do that. And JD Vance, every indication, I'll disagree with what you said earlier. Earlier you said JD Vance used to be more honest. He used to be, a better person than that. No, he didn't. His actions now prove that his actions later were just the inverse of his actions now in terms of what filling in the blank of what he thought he needed to do in order to get power. His motivating factor was, I want to be president and king of world. And it's sad. And things that he's done insane things. He said that basically immigrants are the reason that his family was addicted to opioids. No, dude. Like opioids are the reason. Purdue Pharma, who funded you, are the reason. The easy access to that kind of stuff for people who don't actually need it. That is what made it difficult. And rather than showing that you care about fairness, equity, honesty, reality, and saying, let's fix the problems, you just blame whoever you need to blame to please the people you think will propel you into that position of power. And it's sick.
I like the disagreement.
You Plato creature.
Kind of, and maybe we'll return to that later on in the show. I think his mission, when he was, in my view, telling the truth, like maybe long-term, he was thinking, I'll be VP someday. But I think at that point, he was like, maybe, what do I have to say to be on CNN next week? Like, what do I have to say to be the guy that they're gonna keep bringing on? And I wanna be with Oprah and I wanna do all that, maybe. And also it is entirely possible. I guess we need more granularity in our language. Like, what do you call it when a person tells the truth and it is true and it is right, but they're not saying it because they think it's right or indeed care about it at all? The closest I've come up with is disingenuous. So that doesn't really seem specific enough. We need the Germans to help us, says everyone always. No, because they have those hyper specific words. There's got to be something for that.
English has the most words, John.
Yeah.
But the German dictionary does not count their compound words in their dictionary. That is true.
There you go. I would say we have
again,
a lot
there's
of
no
synonyms.
spaces in Japanese writing, John, so it's all one word. You know what I mean?
Don't speak Slovenian or Japanese or any of the many languages you speak. By the way, very briefly before we move on, I do want to let you know that obviously if you think that fraud is a thing, that can mean many different things. It could mean that the votes are being changed in a computer, or they're not counting Republican votes, or it could mean that you think that non-citizens are voting. 85% of Trump supporters are in that category. They think that non-citizens are voting, which is a thing that is illegal already. It's illegal right now, and it effectively never ever happens. And it 100% of the time never has an actual effect on the result of an election. But they believe it because Trump keeps saying it. Everyone on Fox News keeps saying it. Elon Musk is typing a tweet at this very second asserting that illegals are voting and all that. And so why wouldn't they believe it? The Brennan Center looked into the 2016 general election. They looked at 23.5 million votes. They found 30 incidents of suspected non-citizen voting may have occurred. Less than 1 in a million, maybe. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.